it's a bunch of stuff we didn't get to, but I got to go ahead and play this here because there's nothing better to me than seeing Pete Hegseth get his ass just slapped all around. I mean, just smacked all around. Courtesy of Senator Tammy Duckworth. This is a great 5 minutes and 13 seconds. Roll that.
In response to my colleague from Oklahoma, I believe the Secretary of Defense has just responded last week and admitted that the $1 billion mission that he led against the Houthis, who do not have a navy, has not restored the transit of U.S. flag commercial vessels through the Red Sea, and in fact has resulted in the loss of 2 F-18 Hornets to the tune of $60 million apiece, as well as, I believe the last count was 7 Reaper drones to the tune of another $200 million. You are blowing through money like my fellow cadets and I did in our first Liberty after basic camp. Luckily, I didn't end up with a questionable tattoo. Your failures, Mr. Secretary, since you've taken office has been staggering. You sent classified operational information over Signal to chest thump in front of your wife, who, by the way, has no security clearance, risking service member lives in the process. You blew the $1 billion fight against the Houthis, whom, again, as my colleague says, has no navy, and yet you lost all of those aircraft. You've created such a hostile command environment that no one wants to serve as your chief of staff or work with you in other senior DoD leadership roles. But what we should all be talking about more than all of this is that you have an unjustified, un-American misuse of the military in American cities, pulling resources and attention away from core missions to the detriment of the country, the war fighters, and yes, the war fighting that you claim to love. I don't know if this is because you are too inexperienced and incompetent to understand the real threats facing our country, or if it's because you are just an unqualified yes man who can't tell the president how to keep Americans safe. You are focusing on renaming bases for Confederate generals. You said just now to Senator King that to a man and to a woman, we would rather be associated with the old Confederate names. Well, I am one of those women. I served at Fort Rucker, Alabama, a base that was named for a traitor who took arms against the United States of America, led troops who killed Americans. It was renamed for Mike Novosel, a Medal of Honor recipient who, in his citation for the Medal of Honor, includes that he saved 29 American lives, to include hovering backwards in a helicopter towards an enemy bunker where a wounded American was laying and saved that person, including after being taken fire himself. I know a little something about what it takes to fly a helicopter when you've been hit by enemy fire. That was heroic. I'd rather be associated with Mike Novosel than a failed Confederate traitor. I don't know whether you are inexperienced or too incompetent, but I wonder when you will actually focus on our nation's warfighting mission. We know that California is just a deliberate, systematic, political and dangerous campaign led by you. We should not be using our military to play cops against Americans. General Kane, as chairman, a key part of your job is to coordinate military planning across the joint force. Is the department currently incorporating into any military plans expanding the use of the reserve forces to include the National Guard or active duty troops to support domestic law enforcement, including in other locations in the United States?
Senator, you know, we careful.
No, General.
Well, it's not really a yes or no question, Madam Senator. We plan all kinds of different things.
I think it is a yes or no question.
I'm not aware of anything, but the reason why I'm answering is the tags may be looking at something that I'm not aware of.
What are you doing at your level? You're not aware of that happening at your level? Because we know that on his first day, President Trump directed U.S. Northern Command to revise its unified command plan to add new planning requirements to combat, and I quote, criminal activities. A series of follow-up executive orders continue to redirect DoD priorities to supporting domestic law enforcement, including one in April that tells DoD, and I quote, use national security assets for law and order. In other words, do law enforcement's job. I'd like to enter these executive orders into the record, Mr. Chairman.
Is there objection? Without objection, so ordered.
Secretary Hegseth, you say you are focused on warfighting and warriors. These are your words. Yet you are diverting untold DoD resources and attention to a fundamentally non-military mission of domestic policing. Across the country, we have qualified police officers who are trained for that mission. They know those streets better than the Marines you deploy to Los Angeles, who normally focus on the Indo-Pacific. And you recently approved 700 more troops in 3 other states to do admin and logistics works for ICE. You say all of this is valuable training, but I would much rather have our troops do tough, realistic training relevant to high-end combat. Instead of typing in spreadsheets for ICE, they should be conducting live fire maneuver exercises. Instead of patrolling American neighborhoods and standing in front of federal buildings, they should be rehearsing call for fire missions. We have local police who can stand in front of those federal buildings. And the list of distractions goes on. You are encouraging the DoD workforce to go work for DHS in increasing numbers. You're pulling the military away from facing foreign enemies who literally say things like death to America. And you're putting troops with weapons aimed at Americans. Mr. Secretary, let the military get back to its real job. Stop forcing them to do DHSs. And if you want to be DHS Secretary, maybe you can apply for that job when you're fired from this one due to your incompetence.
Ooh, damn, Rebecca, she read his ass for filth.
That was the clip I needed to see going into Juneteenth. I mean, what more can you say? Look, she is a true patriot. She served honorably in our nation's military. And so when we talk about experts, that's what expertise looks like. So we saw a clear someone who is not an expert but has the position. And then we saw an expert. We saw someone who is very thoughtful when it comes to policy, especially around our military. Our military is never supposed to be deployed in U.S. cities towards American citizens. That is something that our military, that's not even within the purview of our military. And so what we're seeing is an administration that's using very unconstitutional measures for political advantage. And so Americans ought to be extremely upset with what's going on. And I wish more Americans would truly understand all of the unconstitutional things that we're seeing that's happening in this moment.
If this was good times, Eugene, it'd be like, damn. Eugene, if you're going to respond, your ass can't be on mute.
My bad. Sorry, you're not gonna have it muting up. All right, you mute up, mute out. But I mean, it's talk about getting the business clear. I mean, she essentially told him. She said, "Listen, we grew here, you flew here, and don't belong here, and we still gonna be here after they get your ass up out of here." Senator Duckworth. We appreciate her service to this country and her continued service to this country, because look, you need people like her that literally have the lived experience to be able to actually, deal with an out of control, Pentagon executive branch in real time. I believe she outranked him in service. I know now, of course, he's, SecDef. But, the thing is this, he will eventually be fired. Whether it's a botched response to eventual response to Iran or something else, Trump will eventually get rid of him. But it'll be senators like Senator Duckworth and others that'll still be standing strong afterwards. But she told him, said, listen, you knew here, we grew here, you flew here. And we're still gonna be here when they get your ass up out of here.
Bottom line here, that's the kind of heat. Look, he been a pompous ass on Capitol Hill all week, Robert. That's how you need to put that fool in his place.
And for people who didn't watch the entire hearing, the entire hearing was like that, with people reading the riot act. And this is why I encourage people to understand, don't look at the people at the top of the Trump cabinet. These are actors. He literally pulled half of them off of TV. They don't know anything about it. They are just there to go look on camera and do things. Dig down into the documents and find the undersecretaries, find the technocrats who you've never heard of. Those are the people who are really running the government. Do you really think they put the drunk guy from Fox and Friends Weekend in charge of a $1 trillion budget? No. So when I say that this is important, you have to look at what the current U.S. policy is with regards to Iran. The reason that we are massing aircraft carriers in the region, bringing a third aircraft carrier from the Straits of Malacca to the Persian Gulf, the reason we are repositioning as many as 50 aerial refueling tankers from the east coast of the U.S. to European command, the reason 2 months ago we repositioned 19 B-2 stealth bombers from Missouri to Diego Garcia in the Indian Ocean, is because very clearly we're about to go bomb the hell out of Iran. And Israel has already started taking out the early warning radars, taking out the command and control centers, assassinating much of their high-level leadership, taking out Hezbollah and the Houthis and Hamas, who are their proxies in the region. But folks need to understand that Iraq and Iran are not the same thing. Iran has a space program. Iran has one of the most powerful drone armies known to mankind. So much so they were selling drones to Russia the last 2 years. If you think we're simply going to go in and in 2 weeks remove them the same way did Saddam during Desert Storm, that is not going to take place. And before this administration runs its headlong into another 20-year entanglement in the Middle East, we need to be asking serious questions about what exactly is happening, what it will mean, and whether or not we should be spilling American blood for a war that Netanyahu started.
Bottom line is, way to go, Senator Tammy Duckworth.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hegseth III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.